All right, so we are going to go ahead and get started. Hello, everybody. My name is Erin Taylor, and I'm the Education Abroad Advisor here at ECU. I recognize some of your names, some of you I do not, so you may or may not have worked with me for your study abroad applications. If you haven't, it's really nice to meet you, and if we haven't seen each other in person, it's really nice for you to put a face to the name. I know virtually everything's a little bit different now. So today we're going to be talking about how to prepare financially for your study abroad program. And first, I do want to do a little icebreaker. Like I said, this is very casual. I want to kind of get to know you guys a little bit better. And so I'd love to hear where you are studying abroad and when. And if you haven't quite decided yet, you can also say where you would like to study abroad. So if you're comfortable, you can unmute yourselves, or if you want to put it in the chat, that's perfectly fine. While you guys are answering to that, I will just kind of talk about my brief history. Well, maybe not so brief, with studying abroad. I participated in 3 programs through ECU. The first was a faculty-led program in London for a few weeks over the summer after my freshman year. And then I did a full year in Germany on an exchange, a bilateral exchange. And finally, I did, with my graduate program, I did a summer in Hong Kong, and that was a non-ECU program. So we're going to Italy this summer, Argentina this summer, fingers crossed. Yes, I know, always fingers crossed. Well, that's great. Well, even if you end up not going this summer, which fingers crossed you are, then this information is still going to be applicable to you anytime you want to study abroad. And today's goal is to empower and encourage ECU students to begin planning financially to help make their study abroad dreams a reality. So I think both of you, or everyone here, I think has already fairly far into the process. But I am going to kind of cover everything from researching your program and understanding the program costs all the way through to budgeting and preparing, so you can apply it at any stage of your application or study abroad process. And again, as we're going through, please feel free to ask questions in the chat or unmute yourself. Today's objectives are to discuss financial planning resources, tools, and tips related to study abroad. We're going to cover some campus resources available to you, scholarships and financial aid, everybody's favorite topic, saving and budgeting, and of course, fundraising. We're also going to offer real-life examples of study abroad returnees' money-related feedback and advice. I do believe I saw Morgan pop in here. So she is one of our global ambassadors who studied abroad before. And actually, I'm so glad that she's here because she has a great, she kind of did things a little extra than a lot of other students. And we'll kind of talk about that in a little bit, and I'll have her share her experience. We're also going to review some scholarship essay examples and fundraising initiatives. So starting at the very beginning, program selection is one of the most important factors that contributes to the overall cost. You want to think about, when are you going, semester versus summer? I think both of you said you were going over the summer. So summer programs are shorter and therefore less expensive, but many students are able to get more financial aid during fall and spring. That doesn't mean that financial aid is not going to help drastically for your summer experience, though. You also want to think about what kind of program you're participating in. Depending on if you're an in-state student or out-of-state student or your own financial situation, the various program types, some may be more relevant to you than others. For instance, out-of-state students, we always like to mention direct options because it tends to be less expensive than out-of-state tuition. And exchange options tend to be good, cost-effective programs for in-state students since you get to pay your same tuition. And what's included in your program. So you always kind of want to read the fine print of your program description, no matter what program you're applying to see what's included. Your housing, your meals, is it all of your meals, some of them or none of them? The same with your excursions and trips and museums and admissions type things. And where is your program located? The cost of living in each city and each country varies. Most of them are not going to be similar to what you're experiencing here in ECU. So you do want to have an understanding of what that cost of living change looks like. Also, exchange rates. Each country is going to have a different relation. Their currency is going to have a different relation to the dollar. Some places it's going to be more expensive or less expensive. So having an idea beforehand of what to expect really can help you budget. My personal example for this is I did not think about that before I went to Hong Kong. And while generally I adjusted quite well, the cost of eating out was much more expensive than I had planned for here. And I didn't have a kitchen in my dorm, so I did eat out quite a lot. And I changed my budget accordingly, but it was something that I had not thought of beforehand. Financial aid and study abroad. Financial aid does apply to ECU study abroad programs no matter what, as long as they are credit bearing. So this can be a program through ECU, a faculty-led program, even a non-ECU study abroad program. You can apply your financial aid as long as it does bring credit back to ECU. It's important to talk with your financial aid advisor early on in the process. And if you haven't already, our point of contact for you is Jeff Evans within the financial aid department. He works specifically with students interested in studying abroad. He's a great resource for you to see what packages you have available, how you can increase those packages, and what everything will look like for you. You do want to be aware that budgeting for your study abroad experience and your financial aid does kind of also depend on what your program includes. So make sure you do have an understanding of that so you can request the proper amount of financial aid and understand exactly what is covered and what isn't covered. So I'm going to look at a few program examples with you guys. Although I think this will be more relevant to any students that are starting kind of a little bit earlier than where you guys are. So I always like to remind students, any program with a year in the title is a summer faculty-led program. Any program with a star next to it is a bilateral exchange, which will allow you to pay your same ECU tuition. And then ISEP, you'll see a lot with the same title. The only difference will be the word direct or exchange. And like I mentioned before, direct programs tend to be less than out-of-state tuition, and exchange programs are good options for in-state tuition students. So to start with, I'm going to take a look at some of the faculty-led programs. You can see here, it goes in a lot of detail as to what the program is going to look like. You want to come to accommodations and meals. This will show you what's included. So you're going to be staying in hotels in this program, and all meals are included. So that you already know right there that part of your overall cost is going to your meals. And then if you come over to cost and funding, you can see the total cost and everything that's included. So this covers your application fee, your tuition for 6 credits, your in-country support, international medical insurance, which is always required, international airfare. So that's when I wanted to highlight this changes. What's included in each program changes. So this one includes your international airfare. Other programs may not. Your meals are included, excursions, and visa fees if applicable. What is not included is your passport fees. So if you need to apply for a passport, and any spending money for gifts or trinkets or souvenirs. Going to another faculty-led program just to show you kind of the differences. This one's going to London and Paris. And your accommodations are laid out for you, but students have access to a kitchen and will prepare their own meals. So meals are not included, but you have access to cook. So that's always good to know. And then cost and funding, I want to point out here that your international airfare is not included. So you want to understand exactly what's covered and what's not covered so you can help budget appropriately. Similarly, for ISEP programs or any exchange or semester or year-long programs, it's going to be similar to that type of situation where you see your tuition. This is for a direct program. Your tuition, your housing, and your meals. So you can see a total over here. And then for exchange, it's all included in your home university tuition. So you still have tuition, housing, and meals, but it's considered your home university pricing. Okay, let me get this back up and running. So the financial aid office offers a lot of resources for you. I am going to send out this as a PDF to the participants and students who requested afterwards. So I have linked the financial aid website here. And again, you want to look for Jeff Evans. He's the best point of contact for you. I have also, I'm not going to show it today, but he participated in our fall study abroad fair where he did a virtual session on financial aid for study abroad. It's a great resource for you as well, and this video is linked out for when I send this presentation to you. Scholarships, my favorite topic, because students always underestimate how many scholarships are out there for them and how actually, if you plan properly, how easy it is to apply for them. So I hope that since you both are going this summer, I hope you already did apply or you got a chance to apply to the Thomas Rivers Scholarship. This is open to all study abroad students, and it can be accessed through our Pirates Abroad website or the ECU Academic Works website or ECU Award portal. The cycle for summer and fall of 2021 is closed, but any students that are applying for summer anytime, any term during 2022, that will open again closer to the fall semester, during the fall semester. There are more study abroad scholarships available, and we do link them out on our Pirates Abroad website. And again, I highly recommend, if you don't already have an account on the ECU Award portal, get one. You can create an account, answer a few questions, and it will populate a list of scholarships that you can apply for. Keep in mind with scholarships, the deadlines, criteria, and application procedures are going to all differ. So the earlier you start looking into this, the more likely you're going to find more options that you can apply for and not have missed those deadlines. We also offer workshops throughout the semester. So you're here for one already. And we have one that we're going to offer in the fall again for the Gilman Scholarship. So this scholarship is a great opportunity for any student receiving a Pell Grant that's interested in studying abroad. So we do host an entire workshop dedicated to this scholarship since it is such a great opportunity and it can be a little difficult to navigate on your own. Always proofread your essays, not only you, but have one or two other sets of eyes go through your essays. The essays are the most important part of your application because it's how the reviewers get to see who you are, what you do, and how this opportunity is going to benefit you personally, professionally, and academically. You can send your essays to our office, the Study Abroad office. We're happy to review them. And you can also utilize the Writing Center on campus as well. Most scholarships will not fully fund your program, so you do want to look at more than one and other sources as well, which we're going to cover a little bit later. And don't count on getting the maximum amount from each scholarship. If you count on the maximum amount and then you end up not getting that, then you have to kind of scramble at the last minute to cover those extra funds. But if it's the reverse, that's always a benefit. That's always a nice surprise if you get more than you were expecting. So I want to look at some scholarship essay examples. So the first is what not to do. So the first example, as a future hopeful attorney, I am seeking to experience a diverse culture while simultaneously furthering my education in Spanish to help non-English speakers who need legal representation. And the second example, I look forward to studying abroad to enhance my academic experience. I strive to receive all that I can from my college experience. I want to learn as much as I can, ultimately to help me become the best psychologist. So I want to turn it back over to you guys. And you can put in the chat if you'd like, what are some things that jump out to you as to why we recommend this is what you should not do? I'll give you just a few minutes to think about it. So one response, it does more telling than showing. That's a great way to put it. I like that a lot. Absolutely. It definitely does more telling than showing. And by that, you can see that it feels vague. There's not a lot of direction in this. It can apply to any student. Anyone can say these things. And I want to point out a couple of key points that I noticed when I read these. As a future hopeful attorney, so you already expressed doubt in your direction by saying hopeful. That doesn't show commitment, and when you're basing your application off of the fact that going to a Spanish-speaking country is going to help you work with those who don't speak English as a first language, that kind of undoes that right in the beginning. And then in the second one, they kind of say the same thing 3 times. I look forward to studying abroad to enhance my academic experience. I want to receive all that I can from my college experience. It's kind of all about what they will get out of how it will help them personally, but it doesn't show a lot academically or professionally. And it doesn't show how. That's the key thing. How does this experience make you the best psychologist? How does this experience help you represent non-English speakers? And then on the same note, here's an example of what you should do. Bear with me, it's a little bit long, but I am going to read it. It's a great example. I grew up in a very small town in which there was not much diversity and everyone knew everyone. I love and appreciate where I am from and my experience growing up there, but it did not allow me the opportunity to meet and interact with many people from other cultures and backgrounds. Because of my family's financial situation, we did not travel much. Not only have I never been outside of the United States, but I have never even flown on an airplane. Because of my lack of experience and opportunities to travel growing up, the prospect of studying abroad is thrilling to say the least. As a future nurse, I will be encountering people from all over the world with different cultures, backgrounds, beliefs, and social statuses. Studying abroad will allow me to experience some of these differences firsthand. During my time abroad, I will be immersed in a culture that is very different from the one I grew up in. This will give me a broader outlook on life, other people, and the world. This outlook will make me a more sensitive and understanding person, which will benefit me in my career as I communicate and interact with countless people every day. In addition to broadening my outlook on the world, studying abroad will give me a greater sense of independence. Traveling to a new country for the first time and living there for any amount of time is a huge step in any person's life. For one thing, it involves a great deal of planning. It can also be difficult for people to adjust to the differences of another culture. To go through these things while also juggling classes requires determination and a strong will. I believe that this study abroad experience will help prepare me for my future when I am out of college and establishing a new phase of my life. So again, I'd like to see what you see out of this. How does this compare to the previous ones? And what jumps out at you as making this a good example?
I can start. Well, they give background about their how little diversity they had experienced growing up, and they kind of explain what they would be getting out of studying abroad and what they can give back to the community from studying abroad.
Absolutely. You covered basically everything I was going to mention. It shows their background. And let's see, we have another answer. They were very clear and talked about why studying abroad would help them and how they will use those things in the future in their career. Absolutely. You guys got it. So you see already in the first few sentences about their background, their situation, the challenges they faced, and how they got to where they are now. And that sets out a tone for why this will be impactful for them. And they cover, actually, I'll move forward. So I highlighted a few key phrases. They cover what they're going to be doing in their career as a future nurse. They cover what they're going to encounter. People from all over the world with different cultures, backgrounds, beliefs, and social statuses. And they cover why this study abroad experience will help them with that situation. They'll benefit me in my career as I communicate and interact with countless people every day. They also talk personally, will give me a greater sense of independence. It involves a great deal of planning and can be difficult for people to adjust to the differences of another culture, that it requires determination and a strong will, and that it will prepare them for a new phase of life. So this goes into a lot more detail about who this person is, and it already makes you feel connected to them and understand what they're wanting and how this will impact their academic life, their professional life, and their personal life as well. So a few tips for a successful scholarship essay. Don't be broad. Don't use broad generalizations. So we saw that in the first two examples. They could apply to any student. It didn't really tell us anything about who they are or what they're aiming for. So you want to be as specific as possible and tell your story and make it personal. So why did you choose this program? Why does it work for you and your academic, professional, and personal goals? Highlight the preference factors in your essay if these are only for your specific scholarship application. So for every scholarship, you may find that you're repeating a lot of the same information, but you do want to make sure you're making them specific for that scholarship because they're all going to highlight a few different things. They're all going to be looking for a few different key points to be made. So when you look at the prompts for your scholarship essay, make sure you hit all of those. And for instance, the Gilman Scholarship, since it is aimed for students receiving a Pell Grant and underrepresented students who don't traditionally have the support or opportunities to study abroad, they want to see what challenges you faced and how you're overcoming those. So you want to make sure you highlight what each scholarship is aiming for. Check grammar and spelling. This is so easy and so quick, but a lot of people overlook it. It's very easy for you to see what you are meaning to say when you write something. And then when a third person reads it who isn't aware of your situation and you're conveying all of that, some of that may get lost with grammatical errors or typos. So you can submit your essay to us, again, at the Study Abroad office to review, or the Writing Center, but you do want to make sure you allow time for feedback. For us at the Study Abroad office, we say to think about a week for feedback, take about a week for that. So again, that just goes to show that you do need to plan ahead and start ahead. And so Diamond, I see that you put a question in the chat. Are graduate students eligible for the Gilman Scholarship? No, it is for undergraduates, but I can definitely help you find scholarships out there that graduate students can apply for. Veterans benefits. You can apply any of your VA packages to study abroad and help finance your study abroad, but different chapters and programs have different rules and limitations. So you do want to speak with the VA office very early on in the process to make sure you're aware of all of those and finding a program that fits those needs. One thing you do want to keep in mind, classes abroad do have to be advancing your degree here at ECU in order to apply that VA funding. And again, when I send this out, all of these links are clickable, so you can just click on this VA office and it'll take you right to where you need to go. So we've covered financial aid, we've covered scholarships, we've covered researching the program to understand the costs. So how do you make up the difference? How do you begin to save and budget for your study abroad experience? So that's what we're going to transition into now. Most students do rely on a variety of sources to finance their study abroad programs. That includes grants, loans, scholarships, the things that we've covered, savings and contributions from family, and many more. One quote from a study abroad returnee, they say, "I was fairly prepared. My regular scholarships and grants along with the River Scholarship helped cover a great amount. Other resources included my parents' contribution as well as the money I had been saving specifically for this experience. Starting to save earlier would have definitely helped prepare better as well as applying to more than one scholarship." So I like this quote because I always want to highlight, apply for more than one scholarship. Sometimes it seems like a lot of work, but it pays off literally. So if you can get as many in, apply for them. There's always something out there we can help you find. There's always resources that you're able to apply for. It just takes the effort. So when you are looking at making up the difference, we have created some budget planning worksheets for you. I sent them in the original email for this. Let me pull it up real quick and I will send it in the chat as well. So if you want to follow along with me, I just sent that link to everybody. And you can scroll down to our financial planning workshop link here. And I put these worksheets as downloadable PDFs for you. So I'm just going to go over a couple of them. We have our semester worksheet here if you're studying abroad for the semester. And we have a summer abroad budget planning worksheet. I'm going to pull this one up first since I know most of you are going over the summer. So this is just a way to kind of look at what costs you may need to think about, what the general frame for that cost looks like, and then you can actually type in your own costs here if they do vary. And that'll help you calculate a total cost here. So this includes program costs, your application fee, your the actual total program cost, your meals if they're included or not, and then your international airfare, your passport, visa, any immunizations that you need, health insurance. And then a lot of this you'll see is included in the cost or it varies by program. So we couldn't put like an actual frame down because it is so varied, but we can help you find that information if you can't find it as well. And then personal expenses, textbooks that you may need. Extra personal expenses, you can think about your phone bill that you may need while you're abroad, medicines, anything like that, and then miscellaneous. And then Another one I want to show you is the current expenses worksheet. So here we kind of helped you budget out an entire semester at ECU. What are your actual costs? So even though this is estimated for the exchange program, it's based on the ECU tuition. So in-state or out-of-state per semester, what is your housing on campus? Or if you are in your own lease, what is your, you would want to budget for one semester. What do you pay for one semester? Your meal plan, and if you don't have a meal plan, just kind of how much a month you spend on, or how much a semester you should spend on food, health insurance, textbooks, housing, extra personal expenses, miscellaneous, and you can also type in here as well. So this one is geared towards what you spend in a semester at ECU. What do you spend? What are your normal costs? And then you can take your time abroad, the budgets that you're putting together for that, and compare to see how much you need, or if you're prepared properly, or if you need to budget a little extra. And then the final one I want to show you is the resource worksheet. This is going to take a look at all of the funding supplies you have. So what scholarships have you applied to? What scholarships have you been awarded? What grants and loans do you have available? And then personal, do you have any personal savings that you can apply to this? Loans that you've taken out, assistance. Maybe you're asking, instead of gifts for holidays or birthdays, you're asking for contributions. Any money from your job that you can put aside, and any fundraising, which we're going to cover in just a minute as well. So these worksheets we just put together to kind of help you guys brainstorm what resources you have, what costs you can expect, and what the difference is between your time at ECU and what you're planning for abroad. So again, that can be found at the link I put in the chat. Just scroll right down to the financial planning workshop here. And with these worksheets, like I said, they're aimed to help you calculate your current spending. Knowing what you spend in a semester at ECU helps you determine what program you want to apply to, or if you've already applied to a program, how to go about budgeting properly for it. You can estimate the cost of the study abroad program, as including experiences back home that you'll continue to be responsible for. So for instance, I was not able to sublease my apartment, so I had to pay rent while I was abroad, as well as my housing abroad. So you want to make sure you're aware of any costs that you're going to still incur domestically while you are abroad. And take your spending habits into account. I spend a lot on food. I know I talked about food earlier, but food is my friend, and especially abroad, I bought a lot of food. So I knew that that was going to be something that I spent a lot of money on, so I chose to budget more money for that than I did for clothes. I wasn't going to buy a lot of clothes abroad, but if you tend to buy a lot of clothes normal in your normal everyday life, you can also account for that while you're abroad, because you're going to see so many cool things that you want to bring home. So you just want to make sure you understand your own spending habits here and apply that to study abroad as well. Comparing a term at ECU to a term abroad and estimating your resources, that's also what these budget sheets will help you do. And then I use this app in my personal life. It's called EveryDollar. It's a budgeting app. It's free. And it just helps you account for the income that you have and then the expenses you use each month. So the reason I wanted to bring this up, it's a great way to kind of monitor what you're spending, because one of the ways they tell you to see how much you spend in 1 month is to save your receipts. I don't keep my receipts. I throw them away, they get lost, or I don't even ask for them. But this helps me track each transaction I make every day. And Whitney put in the chat that she uses Mint by Intuit. I believe that's how you say it. So there's a lot of budgeting apps out there. You can find what works for you. And what I like about EveryDollar, you can create a fund. So it's a line on your budget where each month you say, okay, I'm going to put $50 of my paycheck towards study abroad. And over the months, it will show you how much you've saved up. So you can actually have a little bit of accountability, and you know mentally that that money is set aside for your study abroad trip. And of course, don't be afraid or embarrassed to talk about money. The earlier you start, the better, and that way we can help you with resources that we do have that you may not be aware of. Also, make a savings plan and start saving now. You'll see that theme pretty much throughout this whole presentation. So fundraising. This is something that I did not know a lot about when I studied abroad, and I'm going to bring Morgan in just a few minutes because she did fundraising, and I was so excited to hear her experiences with it. So you can do virtual crowdsourcing fundraisers like a GoFundMe. If you're doing a faculty-led program or a group program, you can consider group fundraisers. That would be so much fun and also help the entire program. And you want to consider your connections. So your friends and your family, community organizations, employers or family members, employers, as resources for you as well. So traditional fundraisers include garage sales. We're all familiar with yard sales and garage sales, but you can also think about getting neighbors, friends, or family to donate items that they don't want for you to sell. You can also post things on Facebook Marketplace, but I do have a responsibility and an urge to tell you guys, always make safe choices. I've never used Facebook Marketplace, but if you are going to meet someone that you haven't met before, please bring someone else with you. Just make sure you're practicing safe practices. You can host a party or a dinner or a food or bake sale. I actually love this idea, especially if you're thinking of creating some dishes from the region or country where you'll be studying. That adds like an extra layer, gets people excited for you, and kind of shows a lot of energy and excitement for what you're going to be doing. You can do a car wash. You can also think about skills and services that you can offer, such as gardening, cleaning, construction. Maybe you like to paint, or you're an artist, you could do some artwork for people. Clerical or organizational work, babysitting, pet sitting, house sitting, dog walking. There's a lot of ideas out there and you really can get creative. Just think about what you like to do and what services you have that you can provide people. And Whitney also just put a link in the chat for some fundraising ideas for studying abroad, so that's a great resource as well. And then crowdsource funding. So we linked 3 here: Fund My Travel, Indiegogo, and GoFundMe. And the picture here is from Indiegogo. It's just an example of what crowdsourcing looks like on that website. But I would like to ask Morgan, if she's still here, which I see her, yes, if you'd be willing to speak a little bit about your experience with GoFundMe. Morgan,
Yeah, I can do that. Sorry, I'm just now getting off of work. But for GoFundMe, honestly, I just created a GoFundMe, saying that, hey, look, I'm raising money. And then after I did that, I kind of included a blurb about who I was as a person, why I was studying abroad, and then how it would help benefit me like in the future within my academic and professional goals. And then I just shared it on social media and with friends and family so they could also share it for me. So that I was able to like reach the best and broadest audience.
Thank you. And so did you have trouble marketing this? Like once you created the GoFundMe, did you have trouble getting people to see it?
Not really, because like I mentioned earlier, I did put it on social media, so I would just like post it on my Instagram page and on my story. And then because I guess it really, I guess, depends on who you're connected with, just because a lot of my followers were able to like share it for me. And then some people actually donated it as well. And then also just because like I also put it like on Facebook, because I have a bigger, I guess, like adult following on Facebook. So once I put it on there, like my parents and family were able to share it like onto their feeds, so their friends and like other relatives were able to like donate on there. So I didn't really have an issue with like marketing it.
Thank you. So there are a couple of points I want to make that, or expand upon, that Morgan made. So first is that she utilized the connections that she had. So that goes back to one of the earlier slides saying that you want to think about your family, your friends, your employers, your parents' employers, or family members' employers. Once you start, it's kind of like a snowball effect. Once it starts getting out there, people will start getting excited to help contribute. And then she also mentioned what she included on her page. So with this, you have to really present the program and present yourself very similar to how you would for a scholarship. You don't want to just say, oh, please, contribute to my trip to Spain, and that's it. What is that? Why would they want to contribute? They're like, you get to go on a vacation. I'm saving for my own vacation. But you want to make sure that it conveys, I'm getting this great opportunity to go to Spain for the study abroad experience. I'm going to be doing X, Y, Z. This will help me do ABC, you know, just like a scholarship, you want to highlight who you are, how you've gotten to this point, and why this is a great opportunity for you and why they should help support that. And just like your scholarships, I'm happy to look over any crowdsource page that you put up to help make sure that it does convey that to the best, to your best ability. And then to kind of end the conversation, I just want to give some words of advice and then open it up to you guys for any questions you have. This comes from some previous study abroad alums. Save, 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 plan ahead to fulfill your goals. I told you that saving and planning ahead were going to be themes for this presentation. There are many scholarships out there. Take the time and apply for them. They are a great help. Start saving now. Also, it'd be very helpful to research how much food and other daily living expenses cost before so that you could make a budget plan. That's where I failed. Every penny is worth it. Although the high cost may discourage you from applying, there are a lot of scholarships out there. It just takes some effort. Money spent this way is so much better than anything else, in my opinion. So you can see that they also encountered some financial strains or barriers that they overcame to study abroad, and so we can help you do the same. And then I do want just a couple of reminders for you guys and resources for the future. We have some upcoming events. Our Stories from Abroad student panel is going to be Thursday, April 8th at 3 p.m. This is just a great opportunity to speak to other pirates that have studied abroad, hear their experiences in different countries and on different programs, and also ask your questions to help you prepare for your own experience. And then we are having our pre-departure orientation Saturday, April 17th at 1 p.m. You'll be receiving more information about this, so don't feel like you have to remember it now. But this is going to be mandatory for everyone studying abroad over summer and fall, and is just going to cover a lot of the nitty-gritty details that you need to know. So we are going to start getting that information out to you soon. And then I also recommend staying connected. If you don't already follow us, yes, that is for non-faculty-led programming. The pre-departure orientation. Thank you, Whitney. If you're not already following us on social media, I highly recommend it. I've linked our Facebook and Instagram pages here. This is a great way to stay up to date with deadlines, program information, and life abroad. They cover a lot of frequently asked questions and students share their stories, so it's a great resource for you. And we are also on Engage, where you can find all of our upcoming events and more information, as well as contact information. And always feel free to email with any questions or concerns you have. That email is studyabroad@ecu.edu. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, turn it over to you guys for any questions you have. It can be for me. We also have Dr. Whitney Morris here, who's just sitting in, but I'm sure that she can answer questions about faculty-led finances if you have some, and Morgan as well, who is the global ambassador who shared some of her experiences applying for financial aid and using crowdsourcing. So if you
I
want
have a question.
Yeah, go right ahead.
So I'm going on the ECU Tuscany study abroad this summer, and I got a scholarship. I got the Thomas Rivers scholarship, but my payments are due in March, but when I emailed them, they said that I won't have access to the scholarship until April. So how does that work? Will I make my payments first and then get reimbursed, or do I need to wait to make my payments until I have access to the scholarship?
Hi, Cassidy. So with your scholarship, what you'll do is pay, if you received $1,000, you'll pay $1,000 less towards your payments. And then once the scholarship is released to your student account, we'll also release your deposits, put your charges on the student account, and it will all balance out. So we already have records that you have the scholarship, so you won't miss any deadlines by paying $1,000 less or $1,500, whatever the amount of your scholarship is.
Okay, thank you so much.
Do you guys have any other questions? It's perfectly fine if you don't. It's a lot of information, and I know you're all at different stages of the application process. So, as you walk away from this, if you do have questions, please feel free to shoot us an email. We're more than happy to help. That's actually why we're here. So I want to make sure you know all of the resources that are available to you. And again, I will send this as a PDF file out so you have access to everything we talked about today. The video or the session has been recorded so you can re-watch it anytime you need to. And the links are all in the PowerPoint as well. So you'll have all of that. But if, I'd want to give you one more opportunity. Does anyone have questions for me or Morgan or Dr. Morris?
I do, but it's not really, I don't know if it's that financial, but it is kind of about study abroad.
Okay, go right ahead.
So like when does ECU need to know by to approve a certain program? Because I know mine is definitely like really up in the air.
So we are making those assessments on a rolling basis. So it does depend on the start date of your program as well as the location. So there's not a straight answer to that. Unfortunately, I know that, there's so much ambiguity around everything studying abroad right now. But we are making those, we try to make them about 3 months in advance because we understand that students need to be able to make plans and solidify their plane tickets and things like that. So depending on your start date, you should know fairly soon, especially if it's for a summer program, and depending on your location as well.
And with the faculty-led programs, once we have a yes, the program's running, or a no, it's not decision, we notify you as soon as possible after that decision has been made.
Okay, thank you so much. Have you ever had it happen that I guess it's happened last semester, like when COVID happened, but have you ever had it happen that you approved something because it pretty much seemed like it was gonna, run straightforward, but stuff happened and you kind of had to roll it back? Did that ever happen, or?
So it has happened in the past. The most recent example is last year when we had approved programs in January, and then by March, COVID-19, which was something we didn't even know about in January, started to pop up around the country and around the world. And there have been other scenarios where, say, a faculty director has gotten sick the week that the program's supposed to depart. And unfortunately, we've had to cancel programs at the last minute. But we also don't hold students we hold you harmless for that. So if ECU cancels a program, you will receive a full refund of anything you've paid to ECU.
And what I know mine's I guess mine's Argentina, but do you when it comes to approving it, does it follow the whole UNC system in relation to coronavirus? Is it based on a whole bunch of other factors besides coronavirus?
There are factors besides coronavirus. We typically look at the State Department's travel alerts and then the CDC's travel health notices to determine whether a location is safe for travel. And we're also looking at whether activities are able to actually happen in a country. So as an example, Taiwan is a country that has the lowest levels of alerts. It's perfectly safe to travel there right now, but they are requiring a 2-week quarantine for students entering the country. So that might be a program where we have to cancel because you wouldn't be able to do the activities on a 4-week program that you would want to by having to stay in quarantine for 2 weeks.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's pretty sad. Taiwan is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I think that answers everything for me. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Thank you, Whitney, for answering your question.
You're welcome.
Any other questions before we wrap up for the day? All right. Well, again, I thank you very much for coming. Morgan and Whitney, thank you guys for joining and sharing your knowledge and expertise. And as always, I know I've said it probably 5 times, but I'll say it again. Please reach out with any questions you have. We're here to help you throughout this process, and it can be quite confusing on a normal basis, much less during a global pandemic. So there are no wrong questions to ask. There are no stupid questions. So always reach out with anything that you've encountered. And thank you again. And I hope to see you all soon.